When the AST Voltson Super Trucks visited the Nelson Ledges road course last season, nobody was quite sure what to expect from the short-track cars and drivers on the narrow, flowing road course. However, the race was considered a success and is returned to the schedule in 2015 with a presenting sponsor as well in the form of Nilbog. We are now about to take you through the highlights, but before the field can even take the start, Gordon Davis is going to find trouble in the number 32 truck. Davis is going to pull to the inside towards the end of the warm-up lap and is going to have to pit on the start. Second week in a row in which he's had to pit in the first few laps, and this time he has to do so before the green. Nancy Keith also pulls into pit road, coming to take the green. She had a tire going down, and we're not sure what went wrong with Davis. But on the front row, Danny Vigo is going to lead the field down to the green flag for the first time in his career. The most recent race winner in the series carries his momentum from winning at Toledo straight into the other Ohio race of the year by starting on the pole. And on his outside is Michael McKinley, the most recent winner who is starting today's race, who is not Danny Vigo. Jason Miller not taking the start today. But McKinley runs wide off of turn 2, and he was about to clear Vigo until he ran into the grass. The 80 truck now getting alongside him again as he was just about to fall back into second, and the two race side by side into the carousel. They are not going to let each other take the lead on the start. This track is narrow enough as it is, and running side by side is pretty treacherous for these heavy trucks. But they are not afraid to race each other on this first lap, and Vigo's going to have the upper hand with a run off of the carousel and down the backstretch. Looking back now at the onboard camera of Wilson Timothy, that's Kevin Thompson running right in front of him, but Thompson's going to drive off of the racing surface in Oak Tree. As we're going to take another look at it, the 90 truck enters the corner just a little bit too wide, gets his right side tires in the grass, and Thompson's Lycoya is going to smash into the tire walls, taking him out of the race. Running in third is the number 6 truck. This is a second truck for the Binford Racing Team this week, and it is being driven by the Canadian Amy Robinson. Robinson from British Columbia is doing a very good job in her first race in the United States, or at least in the Voltson Super Trucks. She is the most recent track champion at her home circuit, the HLR circuit, the TM Master Cup Series facility, and has raced in many other Canadian facilities as well, trying to move into American motorsport with the help of the Binford Racing Team. Running in fourth is Brianna Princehorn in the 7 truck, and right behind her is Chase Eberhardt in the 91. Eberhardt started out on the pole for this race last year, and is very quick today as well, running inside the top 5. Into Oak Tree, Mike Ramos is going to make the same mistake that Kevin Thompson did on lap 1, and is going to throw his truck into the tire walls. Ramos is done for the day. Alex Martinez is making his first start on a road course in the AST Voltson Super Trucks. Granted, this is only the second time the series has run on a road course. The TM Mexico driver is going to throw his truck into the grass and almost into the tires off of the carousel. He's fortunate enough not to hit anything and is going to rejoin the track, but he is now very far behind. He lost several positions, and the only 2 drivers running behind him are Gordon Davis and Nancy Keith, both of whom are trying to catch up to the rest of the field after hitting to pit before the green. Emberly Weiss in the 75 truck is also going to overdrive the carousel, and she gets very close to those tires as well, but is going to keep it under control. New paint scheme on the 75 truck this week, as well as her teammate, the 57 of Daniela Jacobson. Those hotshot trucks look significantly more appealing than they did the past few weeks. Here is the 57 right now, who is running in 17th place, right behind Wilson Timothy. Not a very good start for these two, but the race still has the majority of its distance left to run. And they've got the rest of the field right in front of them if they can find the speed to get by them. John White is finding the speed to get by Chase Eberhardt in turn 1 as he moves to the inside and is going to try and take the 5th position. They've both got Brianna Princehorn right in front of them, so a big group of trucks here battling for the 4th position, as the top 6 has sort of started to break away from 7th place on back. White still running alongside Eberhardt and is going to get by him in the entrance to turn 4. And now he's on the inside of Princehorn. I don't think he actually cleared the 91 before he pulled alongside her, and the 91's off. The 7 was in the grass as well. That's going to give the spot to White, who has been clawing his way to the front since the start. The 06 truck appears to be very fast today, and Chase Eberhardt almost pulls down across Hunter Blaze as he rejoins the track. And look at how many trucks just drove by him on his right. That is a big train of trucks being held up by Hunter Blaze, who is running in 5th and about to lose that spot to the 4 truck of Allison Ashburn. You wouldn't expect Blaze to be someone who's holding up the rest of the field, but after a good run in qualifying, the 71 truck is not very fast in race trim. They've been one of the faster teams in the series recently, but I guess you're not going to get the setup right every week. But for the time being, he's doing what he needs to do and trying to hold off the 4 truck. He's been successful thus far, and look at how many trucks are running behind him. That is a big train of 10 trucks. That's exactly half the field, who are running basically nose to tail right behind him. Focusing on Mary Brousseau in the 25, who finished in 2nd last year in this event. Not doing as well so far here today, but she's trying to get by Allison Ashburn, who just got passed by Ronald Way. Way now looks to the... oh, contact with Blaze! The 71 moved down the track in turn 2, but I don't think he was expecting Way to be there. The 69 kind of got a big run on him, but no harm, no foul. Allison Ashburn is once again back alongside the 71. She's trying to hold off Way and get around Blaze at the same time, and she's going to drive too far off the track in turn 4 and go into the grass. Way is now alongside the 71 down the backstretch and is going to have the preferred line into the kink. Brousseau can't follow him through because Zach Churchill looks to her right side. Blaze and Way still side by side through the corner. They're 2x2 into turn 7. The trucks on the right side are going to have a better run off of that corner. Way is now in 6th, Churchill in 7th, and Brousseau, sometime later, is finally going to move by Blaze and into 8th. As the 71 drives into the grass, that's going to allow most of the rest of the field to get on by him. The 16-year-old trying as best as he can to hang on with a very ill-handling truck. John White has been trailing the back of Amy Robinson for the last few laps, and off the carousel he's going to get a run and pull up alongside the 6. Robinson still with the advantage coming into the kink and coming into the left-handed turn 7, but White's going to brake much later than the 6 truck does, and best her at her own game. He's going to actually drive off the corner a little bit, but still take over the 3rd position, and now he's hounding the back of the 99M of Michael McKinley. White is driving much more aggressively than we are used to seeing from him. His best career finish came in this very race last year where he scored 4th. That's the only top 5 of his career, and despite those statistics, he was still a championship contender in the final race of last year's event. That race at Berlin, I believe, is the only race where he has even led laps, but he has moved his way from the lower end of the top 10 all the way up into 3rd before the halfway point, and is trying to get by Michael McKinley, who has 3 wins to his name, more than any other driver in the series, to move into 2nd. And once he gets around him in the carousel, as he's going to do here, he's got only one more driver between him and the lead, Danny Vigo in the 80 truck. Vigo now left to deal with the 06, who is definitely the fastest truck on the track at this point, but Amy Robinson is still very close behind him as well, running in 4th place. We're not sure if Robinson is conserving anything on her truck, or if she's running as best as she can to stay up there with the leaders. And Brianna Prinzhorn is having a very clean run in 5th place. Prinzhorn doesn't have a whole lot of top 5s to her own name, but is driving very smoothly and staying well ahead of 6th place Ronald Way. Speaking of Ronald Way, he may now be in danger of losing that 6th position as Zach Churchill tries to get around him. However, it's not going to work out for Churchill. And now Alex Martinez pulls alongside the 84 truck. Martinez has done a great job and worked his way all the way back into the top 10 after driving off the carousel early on in the race, as Churchill goes into the tires and almost onto his side. The 84 truck, as I was just explaining how Alex Martinez overdrove that same corner earlier, is going to overdrive it himself, but he gets on the throttle much too early to avoid those tire walls and a heavy impact. The 84 truck is absolutely destroyed. Tire barriers absorb a lot of energy, but that was still a rather sudden stop, and Churchill is going to climb out of that under his own power, thankfully, but he is done for the day. And just in front of this, Daniela Jacobson gets into the back of Wilson Timothy and almost wrecks him. Fortunately, that does not happen. Timothy and Jacobson have been running together since the start of the race, and I guess the 57 is getting impatient with Timothy. He's not running as well as his teammate is, but considering Amy Robinson's road racing background, that's honestly not too surprising. Although you'd think that Robinson's information that she brings to the team could have been used to help with the 61 setup, but nonetheless, he's not running in the top 10 at this point. Ronald Way is going to get hit by Alex Martinez and almost put into the tire walls on the backstretch. Fortunately, he gets it back on the racing surface. That was a rather unnecessary move by Martinez, but he's going to move up into 6th while Way loses a few positions. Danny Vigo has faced a mirror full of John White ever since he got around Michael McKinley. White's going to move to the right side of Vigo into the kink, but despite that being the preferred line, Vigo's going to swing it wide, retain his momentum, and stay ahead of the 06 coming into turn 7 and off of turn 8 as well. Vigo is trying as hard as he can to defend the 06, but White doesn't even give him a chance to catch his breath back before he makes another move on him in turn 1 the very next lap. White still not able to get around the 80 as he is able to really retain a lot of speed running on the outside of these corners. So even though White has the faster truck, Vigo is keeping him at bay, at least for the time being. There are still several laps to go. There is one corner, however, where Vigo is not running as wide as White is. That is the carousel, as you could see from that shot pretty well. White almost stuck his tires in the grass. He used up every inch of racetrack, but Vigo actually stayed a few feet towards the inside. Perhaps he's making sure that he does not overshoot that carousel like everybody else, or maybe White's just getting better runs off that corner. We've seen him close in several times down the backstretch, as he has right here again, but once again he cannot get around it. The first truck outside of the top 5 is Alex Martinez in the 48. After throwing his truck off the track earlier in the race, he found himself all the way back in 17th, but has climbed 11 positions all the way up into 6th. There you see the leaders going by at the bottom of the screen. Martinez is now only about 5 seconds behind Brianna Prinzhorn, which is a pretty big gap, but it's a lot shorter than it was earlier on in the race. In front of Prinzhorn is Amy Robinson by a few seconds. We're on board truck number 6 right now, and that white truck in front of her is Michael McKinley. Robinson has been catching up to McKinley during this latter half of the race, but she goes off the track a little bit, so that's going to slow her charge towards the 99M. But McKinley losing a little bit of ground to the 6 as the race goes on. John White is still on the back bumper of Danny Vigo and is running out of laps to try and get around him. He makes another move to his right side in the kink and is going to brake much later than Vigo. He throws the truck into turn 7, but is going to keep it on the asphalt and take the lead of the race. A very impressive move by John White. He's finally the leader. Here's another look from his onboard. It looked like Vigo was going to keep the lead again. He got a big run on the outside of the kink and actually cleared John White for a moment. But White brakes so much later into the corner and somehow keeps it on the track. That probably took Vigo by surprise. But again, White made it stick and is now in the lead of the race. And with just a few laps to go, all he's got to do is keep the truck on course and also to get around Nancy Keith, who is going a lap down. He's not trying to get by her just yet, and Vigo's getting a big run on him because of this, and there's contact. The 06 truck is spinning around! White's headed for the tire walls and collides with the barrier. With just 4 laps to go, John White crashes out of the lead right after he finally achieved it. What a devastating turn of events for John White. We're going to go to the aerial camera to see if we can get a better view of what happened. White obviously being slowed up by the 18. Vigo gets a run and tries to use it to go to his right side coming into the kink. The 06 cut him off, but I don't know if he didn't know he was there or if he just didn't expect his run to be big enough to pull all the way up alongside him by the time they got to the corner. I really couldn't tell who was more at fault for that one. Let's go on board Vigo now. This will give you an idea of just how much he was closing in on the 06. He was obviously getting a big run. Oh, and as to whether or not he was going to be able to make it alongside the 06 by the time he got to the kink, I think was really hard to tell. And at this stage of the race, and especially with White being so fast, you could bet that Vigo was going to go for it. And it's just such a huge shame for White. This is the most aggressive we've ever seen him drive, and it looked like it was going to pay off with a big victory, but he's definitely not going to win the race now. He's not going to pit for repairs, but he's going to lose several positions and fall way too far behind to have any hope of catching up. Danny Vigo retains the lead with a little bit of damage to his front bumper, but fortunately he did not crash as well, and he finally gets around Nancy Keith. Keith was holding her line when Vigo and White made contact, so I don't think we could blame her for that accident either. Keith, of course, had to pit before the green flag and fell way behind. The other driver who had to pit before the green, Gordon Davis, has actually caught up to Hunter Blaze and gotten around in 4th position. Here is John White, who has settled into the 5th position, but that looked to be the race-winning truck that he's driving, and it's a huge shame for his entire team. The battle for 10th is heating up towards the end of the race between Ronald Way, Mary Brousseau, Wilson Timothy, and Amberly Weiss. Timothy drives off course just a little bit. Way currently holds the spot, but Weiss is trying to get around the 61. She eventually succeeds in doing so, tries to get around Brousseau, also succeeding in doing so, and charges all the way up to the inside of Ronald Way. So Weiss gains 3 spots in the course of a lap as Way throws the truck into the grass, so he's out of these driver's airs right now. But back at the front of the field, Danny Vigo has just a couple of corners to go before he takes the checkered flag. I really want to say that the incident between him and John White was just a product of hard racing, in which neither driver was going to give an inch with the win on the line, but regardless of what happened, the victory is going to go to truck number 80. Danny Vigo wins the Nilbog Nelson Ledges 40, the 2nd race in a row, the 2nd of his career, and the 4th win in a row for Operation JM. The team has won every race thus far in 2015. Michael McKinley has another very strong run with a 2nd place finish. He holds off the 6 of Amy Robinson, who has a fantastic debut for the Binford Racing Tools team. Robinson showing a lot of promise on these road courses as she has done so in Canada. Brianna Prinzhorn earns a 4th place finish with a very good run of her own. She's normally not the smoothest nor the cleanest driver out on the track, but she did a very good job today. And John White, again, cannot stress as to how heartbroken the 06 team must be over this result. A 5th place is pretty good, but that truck probably should have been in victory lane. A huge shame for the 06 truck. Alex Martinez finishes in 6th with a good run of his own. Chase Eberhardt finishes in 7th, Daryl Quick in 8th, and both of the Hotshot trucks are going to round out the top 10, as Danella Jacobson finishes in 9th and Amberly Weiss finishes in 10th.